and welcome to the Fedora Files. I am Gregory Fedora. With me today is Joe Bargdill, a prolific author. And first off, what is your genre? I've seen your books. I've read a couple of them. I've read Time Ripple for sure. And is it like sci-fi, fantasy, a mix of both? It's like
Yeah. The Time Ripple was a dream that I had, and it's a mix of genres. Because kind of growing up in the media world or industry, you understand being able to produce a story with multiple genre points can target larger audiences. So it's a sci-fi action dystopia. Is what we came up with after we started outlining it and stuff. Um, it was a nightmare. I remember waking up and I just could not shake that story from my head, and I wrote that in it was almost probably a week, 5 or 7 days, but that was in a screenplay format.
okay.
So
So when you come up like this was from a dream, and then you wrote it as a screenplay. Uh, is that how you normally come up with your ideas? Is it through dreams, or how do you do the process of coming up with an idea, getting it out, and then turning it into a novel or a novelette or whatever? How do you do that? What is your process in this?
yeah, you know I've been told a few times by a couple different individuals that I have stream consciousness. So a lot of times I can write exactly what's in my mind very quickly, and just basically it comes kind of natural in a way. Uh, but that can also be quite a little bit of a curse as well, because sometimes you don't have a way of organizing all of that stuff. So I had to, over time, through troubleshooting, figure out a process. I could be sitting down. Well, this rings a bell. Like an outdoor wedding, and my mind decides to be somewhere else, and I can't stop thinking about basically all the scenes and visuals and the story, and it just doesn't turn off sometimes. And so I have to figure out how to kind of like calm those down, kind of outline them, especially if you're somewhere and you can't just get a pen and paper out and start writing, or start typing stuff. Um, so the process originally for me was I learned how to write screenplays by just going to the library and researching it. From the age of I don't know, probably 15 to 20. I was very much into screenplays. I liked reading them. I would just sometimes try to find one online and figure out what it looked like, how it worked. Later when I went to college, I definitely learned quickly how screenplay works, and so it was a fast way of writing something for me. And uh, it wasn't until later that I figured out, you know, sometimes a collaborator
Mhm.
helps me. And so the Time Ripple was a dream almost 10 years ago that I had. And almost 15 years ago, I met my one friend, Richard Rydell, and he passed away just this last November. But we would co-write a lot of stuff together. And if I had something written before then, him and I would sit down, and he would actually be that kind of that person that helped guided me through sifting through the ideas. And then we started using outlines. And once we built the outline, we never really had to stick to the outline, but the
Mhm.
collaboration always helped us kind of know where the end was at.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it's kind of like you would springboard off of
yeah,
each other.
yeah, yeah. And so then just years and years of trying to break down certain doors and make the millions. That's a never ending battle. We just ended up making a couple films,
Mhm.
and the short films have I've run into so many problems with each film, and it's always been a process of theft or a process of somebody trying to steal what was there. And so I decided, I'm done trying to waste money on making a film and not making any money back. So Richard and I discussed, let's just turn everything into books. And I was probably one of the worst people ever to transition into a books. I grammatically, oh, I suck. It was rough. And
Mhm.
my brother even told me, he's like, just stop. Just just walk away because I don't think there's any time in the world for you to uh you know change and get better at it. But I got a program, like one of
Mhm.
those writing programs, and I just started using it for everything that I started writing, and I would correct every sentence, and it basically grades you, you know, 1 out of 10,
Mhm.
and got to the point now where I'm always averaging a score of 8 out of 10 on that program when it comes to my sentences, and
So it helped you, and
yeah, oh god, it helped me learn how a sentence should be structured and how it's supposed to be read. Um,
mhm.
and each sentence has to be so clear so that there's no question what's being read.
Yeah.
And I've gotten some feedback from readers. You know, there's always errors in the books. There'll
Oh, yeah.
always be errors because you're never going to be able to catch everything. But I'm like, oh yeah, there's a couple errors, and they're like, really? I didn't see any. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. There's. I'm not gonna go back and change them now, but if there's like, is there 10 or 15 errors, then
Mhm.
I'll go back and I'll change that many. But I learned how to do that by getting like a beta reader,
Okay.
and get them to help with that process. Um, it's been it's been like trial and error basically.
Yes.
I found out a beta reader works. I found out getting a program that helps you correct your writing works, and then just knowing how the wild world works. I've learned that from just living my life and learning what to do and what not to do and what sells and what doesn't sell.
Yeah.
So it's just been a process.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of creativity, and a lot of times those with creativity don't really focus on the building the bricks, and so you knew that about yourself, and
Yes.
you did that. And I love the fact that even though like your brother was like you should just stop, give up,
Yeah.
you that you were like no, you gambled on yourself, and and a lot of times like I talked to someone the other day about this how the most successful people when they hit that wall and someone says oh you should just quit they don't they just knock the wall down and
Yeah.
you see that with a lot of the most successful people in the world where people looked at them like you're crazy that's never going to work and they're like I don't care I'm going to do it anyway and it
Yeah.
did and how many books have you written so far that are out published
Uh, let's see. One. I got them here. One, two, three, four. So there's four out.
all right
I'm. So one thing that happened is it's kind of out, but I've locked it down. It's in Croentus. Um, this book uh doesn't sell. It is I don't know what it is, but also the readers actually I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
There are a few readers so far, two that have said they've enjoyed it, and it is highly female audience targeted, just by that feedback.
Okay.
And the the other thing that I've learned is that I think the cover is just a little bit too. Um, it's not the right cover,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you can see it. It's
Yeah.
basically a vampire, and this cover is a snapshot out of the film. So
Okay.
this was the first film that I did, um, and incruentus means without blood. It's a
Okay.
Latin term, and I think that's the other. one of the other reasons why it doesn't sell is because the title is like, I don't know what that word is. I don't
Yeah,
even. I don't
it
even
confuses people.
yeah. So what I'm doing is, um, this was going to be 4 books, and so I'm working on the second part of it right now, and
Mhm.
then I'm combining the third and the fourth, and this will be the first full novel that I'll put out.
Oh, so you're
Uh,
gonna lump them all together and
Lump them, yeah, and then I'm gonna kind of put a little bit of graphic design into it. So not like a graphic novel,
mhm.
but more like a novel with some graphic novel style embedded in it.
Okay.
Uh, and we're going to go with a kind of like a uh, black and white tone with
Mhm.
real crisp pages and stuff like that. So it'll cost a lot more,
Mhm.
but I think it'll sell better in that form rather than being broken up and have all of the the things I just spoke about counting against it and all this.
Alright. So
Um,
so, uh, how do you go from, so you've written the book, or actually you've had an idea, you've written the book. How do you go about how do you go about your process of getting it out to the people? I know you said you use beta readers. Once the beta readers say, "Hey, we like it," and you've toned it, what is your next step where you're like, "Okay, I need to get it out." How do you what's your
yeah.
process in this?
Well, the first book, Time Ripple, that I released was a big learning process for myself, and I really didn't know what I was doing. To be honest, it was all new territory for me, and so the first thing I just, I was before I learned about Amazon um, Kindle, I I struggled with the cost
Mhm.
of putting a book together. I'm like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. Then I researched copyright. I researched, ISBN numbers. And I'm like, oh, this is how do people do this without justifying the cause of this? So then the first thing I came up with is if I buy one copyright, one ISBN, and I break the book down into thirds, then I don't have to pay as much for that printing, and I can sell the same novel basically 2 or 3 times. So that was just some marketing strategy that went through my head. Um, that it's basically from like TV, working in marketing and advertising. It just clicked. So then I decided someone told me about Amazon, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I'll figure it out. And um, so I decided, well, I'll look at it. I tested it out, and there was a couple runs that I made where I released Time Ripple, and I never did a beta reader. It was just raw. I had an editor, and the editor, I thought, okay, all right, this is done. Bing bang boom, let's put it out there. I got too excited about just releasing it, and then the readers were like, oh, "This is really good," but then we had one reader call us back up and say, "Oh my God, this is an amazing story, but there's like a lot of errors in it," and I'm like, oh, "Really?" And so I said, "Could you just, jot those down and, kind of get it back to us?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Anytime you want me to read a book and do this, I'll help you guys." So that helped me understand that I need a test reader. And
Mhm.
so now I have I get 3 test readers.
Okay.
One's my father. One's this gentleman that helped us the first time, and I always try to get another third party somewhere, just as random as I can, and that way I get all 3 back, and then I make changes based off of what they do, and then release it. Uh,
Alright.
so it's just kind of like learning also from Amazon their
Mhm.
process, which sometimes is a little confusing still. But I've learned a lot on their uploading, the document sizes. One thing that I get that I have problems with every time, it doesn't matter how many times I do it, it's the page numbers.
Mhm.
Every time you put a page number in, it's like, oh, you don't have enough borders, or your page number has to go inside the page. You can't have it outside the page border for it to print. And so now I have to go back and recreate each page with the page number. and I just use Word,
Hmm.
and when you put it in outside of the regular page tabs, it doesn't like it.
Doesn't, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
bleed. It doesn't like the
Yes. Yeah.
bleed.
Yeah. It doesn't like to bleed. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've tried a few books myself, so I know what you're talking about. That's
Yeah.
so you have another book called Killer Hornets, which is timely, especially
Yeah.
last year when
Yeah.
the Hornets saw that we were all indoors and they decided to try to take over the world.
Yeah. Uh, this story has been a very fun story for myself because I'm I'm just gonna come out and say it. I love B movies. I'm big fan of the choppy action, the goofy dialogue. It's just something fun to do. It's like you have steak and
Mhm.
filet mignon 5 days a week, and on Saturday you're kind of like, can I have some McDonald's or something?
Yes.
You just want some fun storytelling. Um, Man, this story was. I was leaving work one day and I parked in the very back of the lot next to a dumpster and a tree line, and I looked down on the ground and there's this freaking bee thing, and I was like, "What in the world is that?" And I started just taking pictures of this thing. I
Mhm.
said, "I've never seen." I mean, I knew it had to have been a hornet. I had never seen one this big. So I took the pictures and I went home and I probably spent, I don't know, 2 hours just diving in and trying to figure out what this was. And I finally found the picture and I was like, "Whoa!" And this thing is like a monster. So then I started thinking, my God, imagine if these things were like 4 foot long and they were like mad and they're destroying everything in a town. And so that's how that evolved. And so then my friend Richard at that time, I was telling him about it. And he's like, "Oh, we got to do this."
Mhm.
And we shot this as a movie. And
Nice.
we ran into some issues with the it's like a production company, or they're not even a production company, they're a distribution company, and there's a lot of like kind of small idle threats over the phone after we were trying to make a deal with them. And
Mhm.
then the copyright for this went into like a freeze,
Mhm.
and the Library of Congress is like, we need to investigate what's going on. So that was took 8 months um, for them to finalize that the property actually belonged to me and Richard.
Wow.
Um,
That's
so
like
it was
crazy.
kind of a yeah. So this was the straw that just I don't know if that's the right analogy. It just was that point where I just gave up on films. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not spending any more money on this. I can't compete with this.
Mhm.
So Killer Hornets was I don't know. We put the trailer online.
Mhm.
I think there was one day we got about 3 phone calls and emails right away asking to distribute the film, and I selected one of them, and we talked, and that's the one that we ran into the problems with. And then about every I don't know, every like year another
Mhm.
one calls me back like, "Oh my gosh, where is this film done? Can we distribute this for you?" And I'm like, "I gotta tell you, here's the deal. This is it. It's not even close to being done." And
Mhm.
the problem is the CGI. Uh, the film, I ran into some problems and I ran out of money, and I couldn't get the Hornet actually made into that good of a quality of the CGI that I wanted. And I thought I would test my skills at it, and it looked horrible. So I was trying to find a place, and we're talking $10,000 or higher
Yes.
just to make a single version of the Hornet in a CGI world, and it just that's not in my budget range.
Yeah.
So That was another reason to just flip to the books and try and recoup that money from the sales of the books. And this one's fresh. It's been out what 3 months or 4 months now.
Oh,
I think it's been
nice.
out 3 or 4 months now, and it's picked up some steam. It's actually picked up more sales in its first stretch than the Time Ripple book did. But that was my first book.
Oh, wow.
Um, so
So
it
who
took
knows?
me
Maybe someone will pick up the Killer Hornets and want to make a film. They'll call Bruce Campbell up and say, "You need to be in this."
maybe that he would be perfect for it.
Yeah, I mean, he is the B movie king after all.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
I remember reading his book a long time ago, and I don't know what it was, just one of them things that I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah, I think he has another book out now. I
Does
believe.
he?
Yeah, he wrote a second one. There's a
I have
because the
to check
first
that
one
out.
was something. Can't remember the name.
Yeah,
Something hail to the chin or something like that.
yeah. I can't remember.
Then the other one is something about being the B movie king or something.
Huh, I'm gonna have to get that one and check it out.
Yeah, I saw. I have not read that one yet, but I did see that he has two now. So
Wow.
I say. So what? So you're as you said, you're doing the novel of the vampire novel. Do you
Yeah,
have any other? I don't want you to reveal what you have, but
yeah,
obviously you have other books planned because you're always coming up with new ones. Yeah, are
yeah.
you like writing them down or like?
Well, yes, I have. There are probably 40 or 50 stories that
Oh wow.
I have to just pick one and convert it. It takes me about a year
Hmm.
to turn each one into these are called novelettes.
Yes.
Uh, so they're a little bit shorter than a novel. They're close to 25,000 words,
Hmm.
some around there. Um, so there's a lot. I mean, Richard and I were writing for 15 years
Hmm.
together every Sunday almost.
Oh wow.
Uh, I mean, we've come close to selling a lot of scripts too.
Mm.
Um, it just we never would get one that would bite. We had one that was oh, what was it called? Um, the Schoolhouse, I think it's called the
Mhm.
Schoolhouse, and uh, we had been asked to send that, I think, to two different places. One
Mhm.
of them was a Spanish television down in Florida, and they had looked at it, and they took it to like the second tier of their project evaluation process, and they came back finally, and we're just kind of like, well, it's not a Latino written story, so
Mhm.
conversion would be too much to buy it outright from you and then end up trying to convert it so it
No.
fits their culture. But that's basically it's just a weird uh, spiritual ghost kind of
Mhm.
story. We have one that this was based off of various few dreams
Mhm.
from Richard called I think we called it Sunset Cartel. Uh, he used to drive once a week into Indiana to drop supplies off and then bring a load back for the company that he works for. And he always had all these interesting stories and dreams and thoughts along the way to kind of kill the time. And it's kind of surprising. You spend a lot of time on the road, you see a lot of weird stuff that happens,
Yes.
and so we just kind of compiled all those things, and we just finally had enough of them to like, oh my gosh, that's. And he had a dream one time, and I was like, oh my gosh, let's turn this into like a story. So that's how Cartel Sunset happened.
Nice.
uh, it's about a it's about a uh old he's just like a pool cleaner. He's broke,
Mhm.
and he's in the kind of like right place but yet wrong place at the same time kind of deal, and
Mhm.
he makes a deal that he can't refuse, but that deal basically is a little bit more than what he bargained for. So um now he's on the run after that kind
Mhm.
of deal.
So you're obviously gonna turn these into novelettes now. These.
Yeah, Cartel Sunset it's half done. That
Oh
I
wow.
started working on that
Mhm.
a while ago, and we decided to basically switch so we could finish the second part of Time Ripple earlier
Mhm.
because there was a lot of demand coming from the readers. Like, when's the second one coming out? I need to know what's going on here. And so I stopped writing Cartel Sunset so that I could
Finish
get the
it.
second volume out sooner than what I had planned.
Nice.
And I've got readers again that are asking for, "Are you going to continue this?" And I'm like, "No, we were done with the second one, but I don't know. There's a third one that Richard and I outlined, and this is kind of like a I don't really tell a lot of people about this, but we did plan a third one, and we were going to keep it a secret, and then just kind of use it to maybe bring it out later at a later date. But
Nice.
um, I started working with that outline here and there, off and on. But I have this other friend, and he's been going through some crazy stuff, and um, he's had some brain trauma, and he's trying
Mhm.
to work his way out of that. And the mind is an interesting uh,
Yes.
piece of the body, and some of the stuff that he had been going through was some real amazing stuff that kind of triggered that creative energy again
Mhm.
for the third book, and it
Oh
just
wow.
was, oh my gosh, I got to write this down and I got to work with it. So that's how the third one has been kind of dragging along. But
All right. So like you
oh,
get inspired by all kinds of things going
oh,
around you. Yeah.
I could, uh, I don't know, I could walk outside and I don't know what it is, but one little thing, like a little piece of dust float by, and I could see it,
Mhm.
and my mind will just, I don't know, it just goes into this strange place and starts creating all these stories, and uh, it's weird.
It's like Horton hears a who.
Yes, yeah, it is.
You see
It
the
is.
speck of dust, you have to save it.
Yeah,
It's one. That's all. That's actually really phenomenal. Like that. I love talking with people who have these the creativity that just exudes from them, and they just it's all around them.
yeah,
And because there's so many people who just close themselves off to it, and I that's why I really enjoy talking with people like you who like haven't just settled down and said, you know what, okay, I am this, and this is what I do for the next 40 years, and I'm gonna retire and play golf or sit in the sun for two,
yeah,
3 years and then die. And that,
yeah.
I mean,
I
because that
can't do
seems to
that.
be like the course what like 90% of the world does. It's like do this for a certain amount of time, then retire, then die. And
Yeah,
the there's that select few who they're doing that job, but then they're like they have this other. They're like, I have so much more I want to do, and I'm not gonna wait until I retire. I'm doing it now, and
yeah.
like, and that's really great because there are people who could have been I said, like, worked and like, I'll start writing when I'm done with my job. And I have,
Oh,
it's like, and then you don't know what's going to happen, obviously, like
yeah,
tomorrow. It's like, and why not start right now? And that's what's amazing. I said, I've seen, like, I follow you on Facebook and stuff, and I've seen, bro, you sent me Time Ripple.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I need to
I,
send you the second one too. I figured probably should have you take a look at that one, and so
well,
we can
I'm
kind of
gonna have to
compare.
just go buy that one because I enjoyed the first one. So
Cool.
I just I'm one of these. I'm slow to go and buy more books because
Yeah,
but I do. I want to read the second half of that because I was like, I love the read. It was great, and I
yeah,
definitely want to get Killer Hornets because like
yeah,
the cover itself, just I'm one of these. The cover draws me in. I'm like, oh, I gotta get that.
yeah.
Like, I'm a sucker for the visual. Like that's
Yeah,
how I buy my beer. I look at it the beer. It doesn't matter. It could taste like crap, but I'm like, but the
yeah,
can looks amazing.
yeah.
So, which
I've
is
learned.
not always good.
Yeah, I've got a very touchy stomach, so I've learned I can't do that anymore.
Oh yeah, well, I don't like right now. I'm drinking some port, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, but I bought this simply because I liked the bottle, and
Yeah,
luckily it turned out to taste good. So
yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a cool looking bottle. I want that, and then I
yeah.
was like, now I'm drinking it. And so I'm like, oh, good. It's at
We
least
used
it's
to
not. horrible.
I feel like we used to go get ales for some like a long time ago. I thought, uh,
Yes.
yeah, and I can't do ales anymore because they're so thick,
Yeah.
and I really miss those because they had such a flavor.
You
Uh,
should try mead. You might like it.
really,
Try mead. It's got a good flavor and
yeah.
it's not as thick. It almost is kind of like a white wine, but it's made with honey
Oh,
and but it's not overly sweet.
yeah.
And but it's really good. I drink a lot of mead.
Hmm.
So and you
I'll
feel like
try
a
that.
Viking when you do it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking about when you said that. When you brought meat up, I was like, oh, that's the Viking.
Yeah, it is, and it's wonderful, and it is strong. It'll sneak up on you.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. So just be careful.
I could just
Don't drink a whole bottle.
imagine a big barrel in my living room full of it, and
That would
then
be amazing.
just stick your head in there and drink for a little bit, and
Yeah,
sit down and watch some TV.
yeah, or and do some writing. I'm sure it would
Or
inspire a lot.
yeah, crazy stories that come out of that.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you because I know we're going to be running out of time. I don't want to keep you because I know you've got plenty of books to be writing. But
Yeah,
I want to thank you again for coming on our show and telling us where can people find your books? Obviously, Amazon. Like,
yeah.
what would they search to find your books?
So the title themselves, when it comes up, it's everywhere. Now there are, I'm not as popular as some of the paid marketing runs.
Mhm.
There's some similar titles like Time Ripple and Killer Hornets, obviously. But if you put my name behind it in the
Mhm.
search, it'll
All right.
be it'll pop up right away.
Okay.
They are everywhere now. It's
Nice.
kind of crazy. I'm trying to decide if I want to do this Barnes and Noble deal.
Mhm.
They sell it virtually, but to get the in-store on-shelf situation, it's called a uh, return policy contract that the
Mhm.
author has to go through. So
Okay.
I was thinking about doing that, but it worries me a little bit because if all the Barnes and Nobles decide to, put it on the shelf, then that means I would be responsible for buying it back
Oh
at,
wow.
that face value, which, wouldn't matter because I'd be getting the money anyways. But it's still going through Amazon, so there's always going to be this $7 to $10 costs that'll come up with it for that printing and everything. So um just trying to I have to meet with them and figure out if there's a way to stop it if it needs be. But Walmart, Barnes and Noble, there I tracked all four of my books. There
Mhm.
actually are some hard copies in like Great Britain
Oh wow.
at a book depository. um, so it's kind of interesting to see how far they have gone across the world, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's like copies showing up in different places. Um, the whole Amazon marketing thing
Mhm.
has really helped, and I'll do an occasional marketing boost myself. When I can. I did kind of plan to start doing another marketing burst with the Killer Hornets release, but things have been kind of tight. So I've been trying to, wait to a better time to push some of that marketing. So
All right. Well, I'm sure that we're going to see many more books from you. I know,
yeah.
because I don't think you're going to stop anytime soon.
No, so I'm working on the third Time Ripple. It's Hand of Death is what it's going to be called, and I'm forming the Inquentus series, which I'll probably give it the Without Blood
Mhm.
title, and then trying to bounce back to that other one. So sometimes I do find myself in a couple of them at the same time. And my summers, I'm not gonna joke. I go to Kroger's,
Mhm.
I sit at the Starbucks, and it's gotten to be like I call it my old man club.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people that come in and sit down and talk, and I'm kind of like this, I don't know, crazy customer, I guess. But I'll go through 3 or 4 drinks before noon, and I'll have about 3 or 4 chapters down.
Oh, nice.
So
Well, yeah,
that's
the
that's my zen
caffeine keeps you
place.
going.
Yeah, yeah. Mostly teas, so real high content of
Yeah.
caffeine.
Nice. Nice. Very nice.
So,
Well, I thank you again for coming on, Joe. And
yeah,
I definitely want to have you back when you get one of your next books done, and then you can
yeah,
tell us when it's available and where.
yeah,
I'll have to
definitely.
have you back for that.
Yeah,
So
thanks
let me
for
know.
hearing. Yeah, it's a cool show. Like it. Definitely. Yeah, we'll keep in touch.
All right, thank you. And as always, check out Joe on Amazon, Walmart, and Barnes and Noble,
Yep.
and check his books out. They are phenomenal. I've read one, but the
Yeah.
one I read was amazing. So, and I am looking forward to the others. And no doubt, I want Killer Hornets. I keep looking at the cover, and I got to get that. But and for those of you listening, thank you. Be sure to stop by fedoracrt.com to see the other podcasts as well as our Monster Monday videos. And as always, stay safe and keep searching.